Hi, it's Charlie, and welcome back to my layout. I'm trying out a mic again, so please let me know what you think about the audio. So I thought I would take the opportunity to talk about maybe tips and tricks or things that I've learned, some ideas that I have for the layout, and there'll be a running session at the end of it with a few nice lineups, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, so first of all, a learned viewer mentioned to me that the model trees that I had made in that little tutorial would probably have looked right at home in an African safari or savannah, which is correct, because I've actually been to South Africa and I've seen trees like that. So I'll just pull this one. This is the offending design here. As you see, a tall tree with large clusters of leaves in the top. Now, I thank that individual, and I can't remember who it was that mentioned that, but appreciate your input. So this here is the raw material that I picked it from the garden today. I think this might be called yarrow. I'm not entirely sure. However, as you can see, it has a very long stem. When I cut it off, that's maybe about 18 inches in addition to what you see. But what I'm planning to do is put a cluster of them kind of lower down on the tree. I'll work it out, but it'll look a bit different, and that can be easily done. I'll use painter's tape to tape it all together, and then I'll paint the trunk an appropriate colour. So yeah, that's a nice little tip. Thanks very much for that. Now, another thing you've probably seen, you may have seen the video I made about the VPNs. Now, this is a small one. This is one of the first ones I purchased. And the guys at Budget Model Railway said, "Oh, Charlie, that won't work. You need a couple of extra components on it." So I just set it aside, and then I bought the ones you've seen me use on the earlier video, and they've been working out great. And I'm eventually going to replace the Tech 2 and Clipper controllers, I think, with these smaller units. And even the one that I modified as per Cham's 123, John's Amazing Trains. I know this works, and because I tried it using a car battery charger, as John had described, but someone else told me, "Oh, Charlie, that's not very safe." So I put the car battery charger back out in the garage. Anyway, this too will drive any of these trains here that I've got, and I'll get around to doing that. One thing I've found very frustrating are these Ringfield motors. Very noisy, and I think in addition to cleaning off these cogs, I'll need to take them apart and open this section up here so that I can clean inside. Try that as a last resort, because I have a few of these Locos with tender driven Ringfield motors, and they do make a lot of noise. And here's the box from Budget Model Railways. A little plug there, guys. I won't charge you for that, but that's okay. Anyway, really well made, as you can see. Now this one here is much smaller, as you can see. You know, there's a few components missing on that one. This one here, as it turns out, is just a little bit bigger, not much. A different type of speed control there. As you can see, they may have made some modifications to it. You've already seen my little Highland church, and I've made some improvement here. When I first made this, I used black poster board or black paper that the kids would use at school for the roof, and then I contemplated what material can I use for the tiles, and I tried a couple of things. I even tried sandpaper, black sandpaper, the fine stuff. It didn't really work out too well. It didn't look that great. And then I found on the 3DK site a nice page of roof tiles. So what I did there was I cut the page down to two tile strips, and I laid them all on, and then I took one for the roof peak, and I just bent it and put it over the top of the others. And in addition to that, I took some black acrylic, watered down, put it on, and then wiped it off to get that nice weathered staining effect. I had some problems with it warping and not sticking. I ended up re-gluing and used a little bit of crazy glue just to keep it down there. And I've started working a little bit on the door, put a light shade of brown on it, and I'll add to that. And then these roof rafters at the end, just to close up that gap, and they'll be painted also. And I'll end up with a little piece at the front here, so it looks quite a bit more realistic. And I'll stain the downspout there so that it doesn't jump out at you. So you remember, I've also got this Glasgow tenement to finish off here, and I went through the process of using chalk to finish the gable end type. This is what you would have seen in Glasgow after the Second World War. You know, like this part out here would have been bombed, and they would have to demolish it, and the fireplaces would have been down here. So I've got to finish the roof off. I was thinking I could use the same roof tiles, but this time I'm going to use the card as opposed to the black paper poster board, whatever it's called, because this isn't going to work. I'll stain it again with a black acrylic, and it'll look so much better. I have contemplated taking the clay, the modelling clay, and going over everything here. I'm not really sure if I'm going to do that, but I'm thinking about it. So I go over with the clay, let it harden, a thin coat, and then I can score in all these big bricks, and they were substantial, probably 12 by 2 feet or 18 by 2 feet, and it'd be a lot of work to do, but I might just do that. I'm not sure yet. So I've got a number of these, I guess they're ratio figures, and what I did was I painted them black first, and then went in with a sort of dry brush effect, and from a distance it looked quite good. That's the other thing when you think about scale. Now you can see here how massive this bridge is when you've got workers on it. It is a pretty large bridge, but that's what we tend to forget, is the actual scale of things. Even putting a loco against it, the loco looks right, but you still have to compare that with a figure, a human being, and it really gives you an idea of how big this is. You know, it's going to go somewhere round about here like that, maybe out there, and I think it'll look really good there. Now this is another ongoing project, is a Clade Puffer. You may have seen it docked around the layout, and this one I started out using foam core, and I cut the area out for the hatch and the deck, and this will be the base down here, and I fabricated this out of foam core and plasticard, and I'll get to painting that also. But I've also been thinking about using balsa wood for the hull, and you know, I might end up doing that. I was in Glasgow for my brother's funeral back in March. He passed away after a 16-year battle with a rare type of pancreatic cancer, and it just reminds everybody, get tested for, you know, whatever tests you need. You really have to do. So when I was in Glasgow, I went to the Model Rail Scotland, which was a great opportunity, and you may have seen a little video about that. And while I was there, I was looking for some components, you know, a winch and different things for this, but there was nothing there suitable. So I'll have to sort of dig around some old magazines and see if there's anything suitable for 1 to 76 or 4mm to the foot, like a winch and other gear like that. Right now I've got 3 tracks that I can run trains on, and I'm able, with the help of these little VPNs, run 3 trains at one time, and that's great. But I do get a few derailments, and I think I've nailed it down to a couple of things. The track is not nailed down. There's a little bit of a difference between adjacent boards, you know, especially at points. You know, I've added in a little straight piece after the point, so that you don't get the train jumping, but I need to make sure that that's all locked down. And when you get the long sweeping curve that I've got at both ends here, I really need to make sure, and I'll have to go back in and fix the splice there, because you know, it's like that, so the trains stop or jiggle, or and yeah, that's the other thing. Many of the coaches that I've got, either Triang or Hornby or some Lima, I'm beginning to look closely at them, and the wheel sets aren't that great, to say the least. Some of them have a square axle, and there's no room for adjustment, and I think that's part of the problem. So that's something else I have to address and get on with. The Great British Train Show that was to take place here in May outside of Toronto has been cancelled as a result of the coronavirus, and it's unfortunate in many levels. One of them was, I was going to try and cull what I've got, because I just think I've got too many things here, and you know, it's nice to put out XLMS and British Rail XLNER coaches and run them behind a British Rail or British Railways A4, and then haul out an LNER set, and then the intercity set, and so on and so forth. But Storage, once again, is a concern, and I did buy a number of those plastic boxes for $5 each or $6 each now, to store all my stock. But you know, all the boxes that I've got lying around, the trains are out here, it's a bit messy, and I'm not going to show you down there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and build sliding shelves underneath the table. I saw that on someone's layout. I thought that's a great idea. Anyway, we'll just see if we can change this around. This works out really good. You know, I think I told you the story that I got the Hornby station from my mother-in-law, and she also bought me an XLMS coach one time. My wife and the two girls, they don't buy me stuff like that because they really don't know what to buy, and they wouldn't know where to get it. So I usually end up buying everything myself. A lot of it from eBay, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. The town looks pretty good there, and get out the way here and turn around. Over on this side, I'm planning a tunnel where the trains would enter and exit from the station, which reminiscent of many British prototypical stations. And one that does jump to mind, although it's a dead end station, is Queen Street in Glasgow, and if I remember correctly, Buchanan Street was similar. So that would be in this area here, and I think what will happen is my little town is going to be moved over into that corner, because eventually I'll get to laying 2 tracks around at that level. But in the meantime, it's worked out great for making little cameos of a layout of trains either speeding through the station or rumbling through with a freight train, goods train, as they say. So another thing I want to share with you is I found this corrugated sheeting. Now, I know you can buy the plastic sheets at enormous expense, but I got this in the dollar store. I think I may have paid $2 for it, but there are 8 sheets of different colours, and you know, the type of corrugations isn't really out of scale. So what I have in mind for that is, as you saw my Blue Circle cement train, I saw in an old model railway magazine a cement plant, and I figured I can make a simple structure out of cardboard and cover it with the corrugated sheets. I'll cut them out to, you know, 6 by 2 foot 6 or whatever size, standard size they were, and paint them grey. And then they always have towers to store the cement, and I thought I would use these cans of Pringles, and I can put 2 of them together. See if I can do something about the metal top and bottom, cover it up, but that would be an appropriate size for the cement tower. And then I can put some pipes coming off and get something on the top of the tanks. You can see my retaining wall with the arches. So I downloaded from 3DK some of the workshops that they offer, and I have another one or two lengths, well, I've got one over there, that I can put these workshops into, and it'll just liven it up, and I can put a vehicle and a couple of figures in there. Anyway, I think we've come to the end of the little tips and tricks and updates. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you've got any ideas as for anything that I've spoken about, please drop me a note. I'd be happy to hear from you. I did hear from Tony Northeastern. It was nice to get a little note from him. As I told you, he was the inspiration for me to work on the bridge, and the most challenging part of the bridge was the girder itself, the prefabricated large I-beam girder, having to just cut out the web, and then the flange plates, how to get them to adhere to the web. That was a tough job. I had to work on that for a while before I got it. Anyway, it worked out great. So, yeah, I'd be happy to hear from you if you want to drop me a note. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, look after your neighbours who might need some assistance, maybe elderly folk in the neighbourhood, and we'll all get through this together. So I'll leave you now and let you enjoy a short running session with a couple of locomotive trains that you may not have seen on the layout for some time. So bye for now, and we'll see you next time round.